It is Thursday, March 26, 2020, and you are tuned into DIRTRACKR Daily. I'm Justin Fiedler. I hope you guys tuned in to that iRacing World of Outlaws Invitational last night. The racing was really fun to watch. Really cool, all of the guys that came together to be able to compete in that race. Not just sprint car guys, but some late model guys too, and not just World of Outlaws guys, but guys from across some different series and some different regions all jumped in and participated last night. So jump in and recap the action for those of you that missed it. The World of Outlaws did put out a highlight package on YouTube, so if you haven't watched it yet, go check that out. It'll probably be available here in the vault here within a couple of days if you want to go back and watch the full program. But 50 cars ended up on the list to qualify and to compete for the night. Logan Seavey went quick time in qualifying. The way the way the kind of not format, but just kind of the way the game works, or the simulation works with iRacing, is that everybody qualifies at the same time. And so you can't really watch qualifying because you get basically a couple of minute period to get your 2 laps in, and there's no way to show everybody on track at one time. So when the broadcast started up, they kind of just did some more talking. There was a short 10 or 15 minute hot lap session before that, then qualifying, and then basically the first thing you see in the broadcast is the first heat race. But Logan Seavey goes quick time. They ended up running 5 heats with transferring the top 3 to the feature, and then they started with an EMain and ran alphabet all the way to the feature. They had basically 6 transfer from the E to the E to the D, D to the C, C to the B, and then the top 5 transferred from the B into the feature to complete the field. Logan Seavey, Kevin Swindell, Mitchell Facino take the first heat race and are the transfers. Second heat race win went to Chase Johnson, with Chase Briscoe and Christopher Bell transferring. Heat 3 was Jamie Ball winning over Kyle Larson and Brian Brown getting the final transfer spot. Heat 4 won by Robbie Kendall, Cade Higday, and Brett Mahalski were the 2 transfers, and then the 5th heat went to the North Pole Nightmare, Bill Baylog, with Randy Hannigan and Aaron Reitzel rounding out the transfers. The heat races were pretty much about as wild as I expected they were going to be. They were probably a little cleaner than I thought they were going to be. I was worried about there being kind of some crashes and some of these guys with a little bit less iRacing experience. There were definitely some wild crashes. There's no doubt about that, but not quite as bad as I thought it was going to be. But the racing in a lot of these heat races was really fantastic. And I kind of feel like one of the stories of the night was Troy Wagaman Jr. He basically finished last in his heat race, the 3rd heat. And ran the full alphabet from the E all the way to the feature. So pretty incredible run there for Troy Wagaman. But the first EMain went to Trent Ivey, Ashton Winger, Seth Bergman, Max McLaughlin, Cale Thomas, and Troy Wagaman Jr., who was the final transfer, all moved on to the D. In the D main, Carson Macedo was your winner over Logan Schuhart. Ryan Bernal, Troy Wagaman Jr., Max McLaughlin, and Brandon Shepard, late model Brandon Shepard, transferred into the C. The C main was Parker Price Miller over Austin McCarl, Matt Cosner, Carson Macedo, Kelby Watt, and again, Troy Wagaman Jr. Stop me if you heard that before. The B main was won by Tony Gualda from California, Corey Gordon, David Gravel, Austin McCarl, and Troy Wagaman Jr. all transferred into the feature. And then the feature, super wild, again, had a couple of kind of crazy moments in there, but I thought the racing was really good. I thought the guys kept it pretty clean. What I think was fun was there was a couple of times in the night, Johnny Gibson had mentioned how difficult it was to kind of call this race, not seeing the things he's usually used to seeing, and one of the things they weren't sure about was the 4-wide salute. Because in iRacing you only go 2 laps. Once you're on the track, you go 2 laps and then it's green. And there's no real time in there to kind of put together and coordinate a 4-wide. And so Johnny was under the impression we weren't going to go do a 4-wide, but thanks to Logan Seavey, he jumped on the headset and told everybody to kind of form up for a 4-wide. So right as Johnny was getting ready to kind of call a 2-wide, they formed up into a 4-wide, which was pretty neat because then Johnny was able to do his full 4-wide call for everybody. And kudos to all of those guys and Logan Seavey for getting everybody organized into a 4-wide, which I thought was pretty cool. But early laps led by Jamie Ball. He led the first 8 laps, and then Robbie Kendall took over. Robbie Kendall was super fast all night. Did not expect that. He mentioned after the race that he had actually done some iRacing stuff at the pro level, so obviously an accomplished iRacer in his own right. But he led laps 9 through 29, and then Logan Seavey threw a big slider on him. and took over and held on to win the $1,000 top prize on the night. Logan Seavey, your winner over Robbie Kendall, Brett Mahalski, Austin McCarl, Christopher Bell, David Gravel, Randy Hannigan, Troy Wagaman Jr., Chase Briscoe, Tony Gualda, Jamie Ball, Brian Brown, Mitchell Facino, Bill Baylog, Corey Gordon, Cade Higday, Chase Johnson, Kevin Swindell, Kyle Larson, and Aaron Reitzel rounds out your field. Austin McCarl was the hard charger. He went 19th to 4th. And again, Troy Wagaman Jr., I believe he finished 10th. Yeah, something like that, 9th or 10th in the feature. So pretty neat for him to go from last place in his heat, come all the way through the EMain and get into the top 10 in the feature. But really fun to watch. And again, if you didn't check it out, I would certainly recommend going and doing that, because it was fantastic racing, and it was really fun with Johnny on the call. To kind of hear all of the normal things, and I saw some people mention on Twitter, it was kind of like for once it kind of felt like things were back to normal a little bit. Johnny Gibson calling a midweek World of Outlaws race, and had some really great racing and things like that. But I want to kind of, I'm curious that I've seen a little bit of kind of some hate and some kind of trolls talking about the iRacing world, and it's just a game, and why would I watch a game, and this and that, and I feel like on some level I kind of understand it. I'm not somebody who's going to go on Twitch and just watch somebody randomly play video games, whether that's Call of Duty or Fortnite or any of those things. Like I certainly understand that part of it, but I feel like this is a little bit different, and I feel like it's different because, especially in some of these situations where like we've got actual guys racing, I think it ramps it up a notch, and the same is even true of iRacing. Like I'm going to continue to cover the iRacing World Championship that's been running that's going to run on Monday nights, because first of all, it's the only racing going on right now, so we might as well talk some racing. And I also think that at certain levels it's kind of bumped up a little bit, and with the World Championship guys, those guys are the top of the game, and even if you don't know some of their names, I think it's worth talking about, and I think the racing is good enough that you can tune in and be entertained. And I think this is the same, even though these guys aren't top iRacers, they are top racers. And they are names, that you recognize, and guys that you would go see, on a nightly basis. So what's the difference if it's in an actual race car or in, a virtual race car? And somebody talked about, I think it was Jan McMahon, actually, Paul McMahon's wife, had mentioned it was, this is the first time that she's ever laughed after Paul crashed, and it's because, there's no consequences. It's fine. And I think that's one of the things too that made the racing kind of interesting, is that guys were able to throw big sliders and take chances they wouldn't normally take, because the consequences are dramatically less. And obviously, like if you throw a big slider and crash yourself and crash a couple of other people, then there's going to be consequences in terms of your race position, because you're not going to finish where you want to finish. But in terms of money and safety and things like that, it's a lot different. So and I think that kind of makes it fun a little bit, especially for these guys that don't normally kind of have that. But if you have like a legit opinion about why you don't like this stuff, I would certainly be interested to hear. I want to hear all perspectives on this, and I would like to be open-minded about why people are kind of against it, and why you're not interested in tuning in, especially at a point where there is literally no other racing going on. But give me a shout. It doesn't have to be publicly. You can do it through Twitter DMs. My Twitter DMs on my personal account at Justin_Fiedler are always open. Or if you want to shoot me an email at info@DIRTRACKR.com, I would certainly love to hear the opinions about why there is hate. But either way, hope you tuned in. I thought it was really fun. They're talking about doing it again next week, switching over to late models again, have $1,000 on the line, and probably invite a little bit different crowd and a little bit different fan base to kind of check some of these guys out. And hopefully some of these sprint car guys will show up next week and race against in the late models, like a lot of the late model guys came and raced several of the World of Outlaw late model regulars, including Brandon Shepard and Matt Cosner, and some of these guys were Ashton Winger were involved, and hopefully some of these sprint car guys will jump in next week and race with them on the late model deal. But like I said, go check out the highlights if you haven't. I certainly recommend that. A couple other things I want to mention: Wing Nation and Rip the Fence have some new episodes. Wing Nation has Port Royal track prep, Steve Steinley on there if you want to hear about some track prep stuff with Ashley Stremme. Rip the Fence has the USAC PR manager Richie Murray. If you've watched any of the Thunder Relive stuff on Flow Racing the last week or so, you've seen Richie on there talking talking about a lot of this. So check him out. He is on Rip the Fence if you'd like a couple of podcasts to check out today. There's a great story about Michael Page, if you are a Dirt on Dirt member, about Michael Page going and running some races down in South Africa that Kevin Kovac wrote. I mentioned yesterday on the show about the Kevin Eckert checkered past. Kevin Kovac over at Dirt on Dirt, who worked for the World of Outlaws when I went to work there. He was the late model series PR guy. Kevin does fantastic longer form stuff, also kind of in the late model world. So if you're looking for something like that, keep an eye on Kevin's stories because he does a lot of really great stuff, a little bit longer form reads. But want to point that out. If you're looking for something to read today, you can go check that out over at Dirt on Dirt. That's the show for today. Hope everybody has a good Thursday. We'll be back tomorrow with a new show. You can find DIRTRACKR Daily on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or where you get podcasts. Please subscribe, leave me a review, tell your friends. You can also watch this show on YouTube and Facebook, like hopefully some of you are doing right now. You can email the show at info@dirttracker.com. You can follow us on facebook.com/dirttracker, twitter.com/dirttracker, and the website dirttracker.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Justin_Fiedler. Don't forget to sign up for that weekly Dirt Tracker newsletter. Thanks for tuning in. We will see everybody tomorrow on DIRTRACKR Daily.